What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barca Boy 103, and welcome to episode 16 of the Blaugrana Faithful discussion, where today we're going to be discussing the three main candidates to replace Xavi in the summer. And I have with me Michi today to help spur up the debates and the thoughtful discussion. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, bro. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to this.
All right. So first, we're going to discuss the situation of Xavi for the remainder of this season. Of course, he announced his resignation not even a month ago yet. I think it's coming up to a month soon. But I want to get your thoughts on Xavi's departure. What was your thoughts on it? Were you Xavi in? Were you backing him? Were you thinking it was time to go? Was his departure inevitable? Where were you sitting, pre that Villarreal match?
I've been Xavi out for a good amount of time now. I think that when he first came into the club, obviously we're seeing the like what Coleman left behind. I'm not sure what the word is. Like I don't know what Coleman left behind, and then we see Xavi come in and right off the bounce, he was looking really, really good. I remember those months in February when we were beating Napoli, we were beating Valencia, scoring 4 goals, beating Atletico Madrid 4-2. That goal from Dani Alves. I remember that day like it was yesterday. And then we lost to Frankfurt in the Europa League. And I started seeing the results kind of dip at the end of the season. We needed that last-minute winner from Luke de Jong to beat Levante. I don't know if you remember that year from that pass from Jordi Alba. And then the next season, we won the league, and we looked good for a lot of games. But I thought at the end of the season, we didn't really look great. And I think for me, Xavi's biggest problem was always European football. And we saw it on the UCL last year. Well, granted, we did get robbed against Inter. That was a robbery. And against Bayern Munich at their stadium, that first half, it was one of the best halves I've seen us play under Xavi. Like, if our team would have converted their chances there, we should have won that game 2 or 3-0. Really, it was that it could have been that easy for us to beat Bayern Munich. But then after that, the results just weren't there, and the football to me wasn't really there either. And in the Europa League, getting knocked out by Erik ten Hag and Man United, which looks like a worse result now because Erik ten Hag is about to get the boot because he's so bad. And last year we thought this guy was like the second coming of Jesus, and now he's about to leave. And in those 2 legs, we just didn't look good, in my opinion. And when I see Xavi, and when I see this season what he's been doing, it's very uninspiring football to me. And I feel like a lot of times when every single player in your team is underperforming, it comes down to the manager and the tactics that he's implementing. Playing a high line against Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo in the Super Cup final, they're the 2 fastest players arguably in the league. What are you doing playing a high line? His inability to adapt. Like, one thing that really pissed me off, at least, is the Lewandowski thing. You playing him, like, especially like Lewa now is doing a good period, by the way. He's like playing well now. He's on form. He's scoring goals.
Lewandowski might be back.
Hopefully. I hope so, man. But like, it was like when Lewa was having those bad months from around October to like late January, he was so reluctant to bench him, just play him the full 90 minutes. And that to me just showed a guy who didn't have the balls, honestly. He lacked that it factor, in my opinion. So after I saw the games against Villarreal and against Real Madrid and against Bilbao in the Copa del Rey, where the team really looked like, to me, I'm not sure about you, but it looked like they quit on him. It just looked like at the end of those games they were quitting. They were just not interested in playing for the manager. And now the results have been better. But to me, I've been a guy who's Xavi out from really, honestly, and people might think this is crazy, second half of the season last year, despite the fact that we won the league, I just didn't like the results. I didn't like the football that we were playing. And now I think we're seeing that this season, Madrid is back on form. Teams are getting better. And dude, one more thing. I don't want to do this too long, but one more thing. We almost struggled to get out of the group in the UCL, and we had the easiest group. We lost 2 games. We had no business losing 2 games in the UCL group stages, in my opinion. Against Royal Antwerp and Shakhtar Donetsk. Come on, man. Like, to me, so again, I think Xavi, I love him as a player. He's a legend of the club, and I will never disrespect him as a player because this guy gave me some of my best memories ever as a child. But as a manager, I just think he's way in over his head. He's not Pep. Like, he came in from the Qatari league. He's, maybe he can go to another club and coach them up and then come back to Barca. But for now, I think we need someone to come in that's, bring something different to the team. Sorry for the long answer, but just want to give you my whole 360 view.
I want to, just before I give you my opinion, I want to give you a quick answer on this. Would you take Xavi back in the future, whether or not he goes to another league and proves himself, or depending, of course, on the situation of Barcelona? Of course, we've seen a lot of managers leave Barcelona and never come back, even successful ones like, Pep and Enrique, Valverde or Koeman will come back in the future and keep Setien far away from this club. But 5-6 years from now, because Barcelona's a team that's going to go through managers 2 or 3 years, because again, the headspace and the pressure that presents to you as a Barcelona manager is way too difficult. We're never, like Xavi said a lot, he keeps on being asked in the media, are you ever going to be the Sir Alex in Barcelona? And he said to them, the reason why they won't be a Sir Alex version of Barcelona is because of you guys, media, fan pressure, whatever the case may be. So would you take Xavi back in the future should an opportunity come about, he's maybe gone somewhere else and proven himself?
It really depends, because you remember Frank Lampard, right? He left Chelsea and then he went to Everton and he was terrible, but then Chelsea still brought him back. So under those circumstances, I don't want him back. If Xavi can go to a team, maybe let's just call it, I'm just picking a random team here, Betis. I don't know, I know Pellegrini's there, but let's just say, I'm picking any mid-table team in La Liga, even though Betis kind of at the top now, but any team, Las Palmas or any team like that, and he can prove that he can actually he can implement the system around there and he can bring those players up, and those teams are playing good, then maybe so. But if he just goes to another club and then the results are poor and then he doesn't do well, and then we bring him back just because he's a Barca legend, he's just like the best that we have, I think Barcelona should be striving for the best, man. We are, to me, I know people get mad. I believe with every fiber in my being, we're the biggest club in the world. Now, financially, we're not doing great, but to me, like, obviously I'm biased because I'm a fan, but we should be aiming for the best. I know we're going to get into that later, but Xavi coming back, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure actually if Xavi would want to come back. I don't see that's something that he would want to do, honestly. I think Xavi's so worn out. And one more thing that I want to add to your point, sorry, just real quickly, but when you said that Xavi talks about the fan pressure, what pisses me off is that Xavi knows that. He knew that when he took the job. You know what I mean? So those excuses to me, I know it's not an excuse and I get what he's saying, but sometimes it's like, bro, you knew what the job was when you took it. So it comes with it.
I think the reason why he got upset with that and that kind of took a toll on him is because he, in his eyes, and what he's been told by his boss, Laporta, Deco, and whatever, is that he's doing a great job. And if you look at it on paper, the job was very much well done for the situation that he came in now and the situation that he's leaving the team in as well. Just to give you my points, because I don't know if you know what I was basically very much Xavi in until the Super Cup. After the Super Cup happened, I'm thinking there's question marks to be asked. I was never Xavi out. I think even if he lost 20 games in a row to relegate us, I don't think I'd have the balls to say Xavi out for what he's given me in my years. Yes, is that bias? But it is what it is.
It is what it is, bro.
I think with Xavi, I think his overall time was a success. You being Xavi out midway through last season boggles my mind. But I understand where you're coming from. The results weren't too pretty, but we were getting the result. Again, during those times, we were getting compared a lot with Simeone's. I never seen Barcelona win more 1-0 games in my life than last season. But we were an effective team. We were going out there, getting what we needed, 3 points, leaving, keeping the clean sheet as well. I think, Xavi's best game that he's ever coached for Barcelona was last season in the Super Cup final. I think that was probably the best game I've seen Barcelona play since, if we're not counting Messi carry jobs, maybe since like Luis Enrique days, if I'm being completely honest.
Honestly, yes, I agree.
So I don't think Xavi's overall time was a failure. I think he's done well. And I do want to see him back in the future. Maybe he goes out to another team. Maybe does like a Xabi Alonso, goes to like a Bayern Leverkusen, to Dortmund, maybe somewhere Brighton or Aston Villa in the Premier League, and then come back in the future. I think he's left the door open for that as well because he's a man of the club. And of course, the club will always accept him back. But I don't think we will ever see in our lifetime a Barcelona coach that stays in the manager position for more than 4 years. I think it's too difficult.
It's like a presidential term.
Huh?
It's like a presidential term once you hit your 4 years.
Not even, because Laporta's brought in multiple coaches. Same with even the other guy who I don't want to talk about. But it's just the mental state, because you will go and get success. And in the moment, it's not even just a bad season. One bad game. And no, the fans, of course, are reactionary. So you expect that from the fans.
Right.
But the media will absolutely rip you to shreds. And I've never seen it in any other team. I think in Madrid, if you lose a couple of games on the bounce poorly, they will go for you. But in Barcelona, it's one bad game.
Yep.
And they go for you. Look at even Pep. Pep's all the time in his press conferences in the UK. Oh, the pressure of Barcelona is nothing compared to this. I can handle this. Barcelona, no one. Very few managers can handle it. Because in Man City, of course, win. Draw, loss. We've seen them, draw a couple of games back-to-back at home against the top 6 teams. They're thinking, oh, just a rough patch for Pep. He'll bounce back. Here you in Barcelona, who did we drew 2-2 with Mallorca near the beginning of the season?
Yes.
Everyone's like, what the fuck's going on here? Xavi, Fermin Lopez is saving us. Cancelo's not playing well. Lewandowski's a shadow of himself. So I think all that is what Xavi didn't expect, because he thought, I'm a man of the club. It's the only club I played for. Maybe they give me a bit of that leniency, but they didn't. But I think it was, again, I was more reluctant to let go of Xavi because of the replacement, because there was no one available. Even now, if Xavi sacked now, I'd be worried. Like, I don't want Rafa Marquez for the rest of the season. That's going to do us no good whatsoever. It's going to cause problems for Barca Athletic as well. It makes no sense. But no. I think him deciding to leave, at least going on his own terms, and fair enough to him. But let's now discuss some of the possible workplaces. We're going to go through the top 3, the 3 names that are being, I think, one of these 3 will 100% be the manager, based on what I've been told, based on what I'm seeing as well, because there's no one else really out there. So first option that we do have is, of course, Thomas Tuchel. This is mainly more so because he's done a Xavi and he's going to leave at the end of the season. And Barcelona did like him before this announcement was even, decided. What are your thoughts on Tuchel? Would you take him, firstly, as a Barcelona manager? Let's take away from the other options. Let's say, oh, you're presented with Tuchel. Would you take him, yes or no? And secondly, do you think it's an actual possibility?
Thomas Tuchel is weird for me because I feel like he's a manager and his track record. Obviously, I can't speak that much prior to Dortmund because I didn't watch him, but I know that he kind of thrives when expectations are low. We saw with that Chelsea team in 2021, they get rid of Frank Lampard. This guy comes in and takes them to win their second UCL in their history. And really, dude, like remember, they beat Real Madrid in the semis. They beat Man City, a great defensive game against Man City in that final. And then that next year, they bring in Lukaku. Everybody's like, oh, they just seen a striker and they'll be the best team in Europe. And they're bringing Lukaku and they kind of have an underwhelming season. And he gets sacked like midway through the next year because obviously the results weren't there. And then he goes to Bayern Munich. They sack Julian Nagelsmann and they bring him in. And let's be honest, he's underachieved at Bayern Munich.
Definitely.
He's underachieved 100%. Nagelsmann was on track to win a treble with that team. And this guy comes in. And, this year, Harry Kane has been great, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I watched him play against Lazio. It was awful. It was like an eyesore. They couldn't create anything. It was so hard to watch. And I don't think Thomas Tuchel, look, prior to when the news first came out about Xavi leaving, I was like, I want a German guy, and I obviously we know the three German names. But now the more that I look at Tuchel, and after I watched that game against Leverkusen, where Xavi Alonso looked like a class below Xavi Alonso. Now, granted, Xavi Alonso might be one of the top 5 managers in the world right now. He's that good. But I'm not sure if I want a guy like I'm not sure if Thomas Tuchel. I don't know about you, but I'm not really too fond of Thomas Tuchel. I think he burns out really quick, and I think that sometimes he's just not the man that I would want to see right now at Barca. Because if he was coming off a great year at Bayern and they win the UCL or something and they're dominating like they always do, then sure, bring him in. But the reason why Bayern Munich's letting him go is because he hasn't been doing that. So I don't know if I want to.
My main concern with Tuchel has been that Bayern Munich have done nothing but back him. I mean, the man is signing Harry Kane for 100 million, signing Eric Dyer in the bloody January transfer window.
Kim Min-jae.
With Tuchel, I think he's a great manager. I think his philosophy is really strong. I think the past month has been kind of his rough patch that we've seen a lot at his previous clubs, at PSG, at Dortmund, at Chelsea. And it's kind of come in with the Barcelona job being available. I think what you're saying about the Lazio game, I watched that game as well. They were, piss poor. But I think it's a bit reactionary to judge him based on the past month. I think as an option, I'm not opposed to it too much. I think one of the good benefits to him is that he can speak Spanish. I think that's very much a criteria that I think a lot of people online, I'm not saying you
no, but underrated criteria, yeah, that people are not really bringing
people
up.
Consider like, oh, bring me I've seen people in my chat saying, would you take Graham Potter? Would you take Eric Ten Hag? All stuff. I'm like, or maybe other candidates we'll talk about later. I'm thinking you cannot come to Barcelona again, where we talked about in the past 5 minutes, the media pressure being so massive and not being able, not even speak the local language, but just the language of the country. Because again, in Barcelona, they speak Catalan, which is a different dialect of Spanish. And having that sense of communication, because you have to talk to, the board, the players, your directors, your coordinators, it's going to be difficult in that sense. So that does benefit Tuchel. I think he's a good manager. I think, again, the rough patch over the past few months. And I think he's going to come in, not demand signing, but suggest players. Because again, Eric Dyer, he's not going to go in and say, I want Eric Dyer. It's because the option that is available. He liked him, bring him in. That's my question mark around Tuchel. I think I would definitely consider him a top 5 option because, again, his track record is very strong. PSG Champions League final only lost because Coleman won their goal. He got Chelsea to the final as well. I think we can both agree unrightfully sacked. I think the board kind of saw that he was on a bit of a losing streak. They wanted their own man in, so they sacked him, and now it's probably one of the biggest regrets Chelsea have done in recent years. And with Bayern, I think, again, his time is overwhelming. If he does not win the Bundesliga, I think that's a big hit on his CV.
You think he's going to win? I know that's not part of this, but do you think he's going to win?
Man, just the Bayern Munich juice, man. I don't know. I've watched football way too long not to see Bayern Munich win a league. I know they're 8 points. I know Bayern Leverkusen are 8 points clear, but I don't know, man. I've seen Bayern Munich make this comeback against Dortmund a few times. Even last season, they made a comeback, I think, from 5 points and won it on the last day because Dortmund drew at home. I'm thinking there's some sort of Bayern Munich juice. I wouldn't say it's going to come down to Tuchel. I think it's just more so the aura that Bayern Munich have, but we'll wait and see. I saw the schedule actually a few days ago that they both have, a decent amount of rough games coming about, so it can twist and turn. But I would say that Bayern Leverkusen is not the favorites for sure. But that's the option of Tuchel. Of course, the next option, staying on the kind of philosophy, is Roberto De Zerbi. Now, De Zerbi, for me, I'll give you my opinion first. Mm-hmm. for me, there's two problems. Number one is the experience. Because if you offer me right now Xabi Alonso to be the Barcelona manager, honestly, I would say no. Because we've done that already in the past with Setien, with Valverde, and even with Xavi. When you have that, they show a glimpse somewhere else, but when the going gets tough at the biggest level, they crumble. For me, we're at a point now where the squad is, at somewhat of a good age. You have your veterans, you have your youngsters. This is the time where you need someone with experience. De Zerbi does not have that for me. I think he's kind of on the same path of like a Xavi a few years ago, a Xabi Alonso now, where his philosophy is good. He's performing well. Yes, he has some experience being in Serie A and now in the Premier League as well. Very, very good manager, but lacks the experience for me. And secondly, paying to get him. If we pay even €1 to sign a manager, it might be the biggest catastrophe I've seen in my life. Not only because you're paying to get a manager, but secondly, you're now hindering your transfer budget for the squad. Because I know for a fact, I'll tell you this for free. We buy De Zerbi, let's say we activate his clause of 10 million. Oh, we can't buy Alex Garcia because we spent that 10 million on De Zerbi. Oh, we want to buy Zubamendi or Kimmich, but we're 10 million short. We spent that on De Zerbi, so we're gonna have to go sign a Romeo 2.0. I promise you that will happen unless you can provide me guarantees that you can afford De Zerbi and afford the targets that you want in the summer. Then that's a different story. But for me, investing money in players is the main priority because the players are going to go out there on the pitch. They're the ones that have to perform and get the result. That's the two things for me, De Zerbi, for his release clause and his experience. What are your thoughts on De Zerbi being an option?
I echo everything you just said. And one thing that I didn't mention about Tuchel that I would like to see is that Tuchel has the experience. I mean, he's coached at the biggest clubs in Europe already. So if he comes in, the pressure, again, Barca is different to Bayern Munich and Chelsea and even PSG, but it is, it's the big boys. De Zerbi, I watched Brighton games, and I think that his teams play well. They score a lot of goals, but they also concede a lot of goals. Like that's just, he plays a really attacking football, and he sticks to his philosophy, which I like. And I know that Barca are very philosophy based. That's just like the nature of the club. It's about bringing in, like, it's just about adapting the Barca way. And I think De Zerbi, in a way, kind of has that Barca DNA, always playing out from the back. No team plays out from the back more than Brighton. I mean, these guys are just like, they build up from the back.
I see the game with the Emirates as well. It's crazy, yeah.
They're not hoofing balls up the pitch. They're playing out from the back.
I know it's surviving then.
There's a pattern of play every single time. Goalkeeper to center back to fullback to midfield. Like, it's just the way it is. So I appreciate that about De Zerbi, but I echo everything you just said. I think De Zerbi, when it comes down to the experience, coaching at Brighton is very different than it is coaching at Barcelona. And we really saw it. Like, the perfect, to me, litmus test is, and it's not apples to apples, but it is very similar. Graham Potter left Brighton, goes to Chelsea. And again, granted, Chelsea are not a perfect situation, but neither is Barca. And he goes there and he gets fired in 6 months. He gets sacked in 6 months. And I think De Zerbi, it's different, obviously, but I'm saying, like, the pressure of going from a Brighton to a big club like that, and just the change, because Brighton can lose 3 games on the bounce. No one cares.
They lost Luton 4-0, man.
They lost to Luton Town. Like, no one cares if Brighton lose 3 games on the bounce. So they finish in 10th in the Premier League. When you're at Barca, I mean, you mentioned it obviously, and you made a great point. You lose a game, you're like in the front page of whatever newspapers in Catalonia. So for me, when I see De Zerbi, I think the experience is just not quite there. If he goes to maybe if he goes to like a big team in the summer, because I think he's going to leave Brighton this year. I don't know where he's going to go, but I think he's going to go to a team, like another team. Because
we're not the only big team that's looking for a manager. There's about 3 or 4. The Bayern Munich job is available. Barcelona, Liverpool. There's going to be competition.
A lot of candidates right now. So for me, if he goes to another team and maybe proves himself there, I get it. But it's what you said. I don't want an experimental coach. I'm sick of seeing the experiments. I want someone that's proven. And also, we're not paying for a manager. Like, go get some guy on the market. There's no point in paying for De Zerbi. I mean, he's great, not paying for him.
What I've been told and what I've been seeing as well is that apparently when Barcelona met with Araujo's agents, they told who are the same agents as De Zerbi, they told them, look, if you can get rid of that 10 million euro release clause, whether you pay it, maybe you have a gentleman's agreement with Brighton and you just, make that disappear, he will be the manager. That's what he's been told from his perspective. That if you can take away that clause, you are the front runner. We will pick you. It's just that for De Zerbi from Barcelona's perspective, it is just the clause that's the issue. If they could pick any manager in the world, that's of course reasonable, makes sense, feasible. Of course, they can pick anyone. It's going to be Pep or Luis Enrique. That's very, very well known. But if they can pick anyone that makes sense, it is De Zerbi. And it's basically that 10 million euro clause that's kind of surviving us, you and I, a bit, because we kind of agreed that the experience is the main issue. And I don't know, I get why Barcelona would want him. He's a young coach. We kind of have a young team as well. I say like probably 70% of our team, 75% of our team is young. But again, it's just about the experience now. These players need experience. The game against Napoli, I saw in the stats that only 5 players in the team of Barcelona played in a knockout Champions League before. I think it was like Gundogan, Ter Stegen, Roberto, Lewandowski, and Varane with like Man City.
And Frankie, who played against Napoli in 2020.
And Frankie, and that was it. Everyone else's first games, Araujo, Pedri,
Right.
Victor Roque, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, whoever it may be. So this is how inexperienced our team is. And that's why I think, experience is the main thing. I think someone in the chat saying that De Zerbi was recommended by Pep, which is also, I think, why Barcelona like him, because he's kind of endorsed by Pep. So I think it's just that release clause that's really keeping us a threat here. But we will wait and see on De Zerbi, but I think you and I kind of are on the same page. And finally, I think the favorite, mainly because right now he is fully available and he's on his knees at this point begging for the job, it is Hansi Flick. With Hansi Flick, he checks the majority of boxes. He's available. He has experience, although, getting knocked out of the World Cup in the group stage with Germany is a bit embarrassing, to say the least. Yeah, he's apparently learning the language as well, which, I mean, he's doing nothing else, so it's not surprising whatsoever.
Right.
But he's done one of the biggest moves in this managerial race, which is appoint Fini Zahavi as his agent. If you don't know Fini Zahavi, he's a very, very close friend of Joan Laporta. He's the same agent as Lewandowski as well. Joan Laporta has a very good relationship with Fini Zahavi and Jorge Mendes, are the two agents he likes to work with the most since his time, even back in his first presidential campaign. What are your thoughts on Hansi Flick? Would you be okay with it? Would you be content with it? Would you accept it? What are your thoughts on him becoming the Barcelona manager?
He would be my main guy right now. I think Hansi Flick brings a certain intensity to his teams. I saw the Bayern Munich, not the Bayern Munich, but the Germany All or Nothing, like the Amazon Prime
watched
series
it as well. They didn't really give me encouragement though. I'll tell you that.
Like, I just, not really, like, kind of similar, but at the same time, I like the way that he's on his players' ass pause. But I do think that this guy is a very, like, he's a very strong personality. And I think I like his training regimens as well. The way that he, like, the players are very physically fit, sorry. And I don't know if you saw this video, but yesterday I watched a video by a very good creator called The Football Purist. He kind of breaks down games tactically.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen him. And he was talking about Hansi Flick and how he would fit into Barcelona, like, tactically. And Hansi Flick is kind of like the German football philosophy, which is press high up the pitch, win the ball back, and just attacking football. And he thinks, in his opinion, that Hansi Flick wouldn't be a good manager for Barca because our problem right now is converting chances, right? Mm-hmm. And to employ a system like Hansi Flick's, you have to have people who can actually convert, because it's going to be a high-scoring game. Bayern Munich are going to score, like, they're going to score on you, but you're also going to have to outscore most teams under this like system. And we have the players kind of like Balde, and our fullbacks are good because he had those fullbacks also at Bayern Munich with Alphonso Davies, who could push high up the pitch. So we kind of have the personnel that Hansi Flick would kind of want to implement a system, but at the same time, we lack that certain thing that maybe if it goes bad, it's gonna go really bad with Hansi Flick. Like if it doesn't work out, well, the thing with Hansi Flick is that if it doesn't work out, it's gonna be bad. Like, you're gonna get spanked by teams because they're just gonna expose that high line that you're playing. They're gonna beat you in behind. And Barca's biggest problem is defending in space. We've seen that multiple times this year. Every team, I say this all the time on my YouTube channel, every team against us on the counter looks like 2012 Real Madrid. It looks like they have Ronaldo on the left, they have Higuain down the middle, Ozil feeding them the balls, and Di Maria on the right. Every team against us looks like 2012 Real Madrid because we cannot defend space, and getting back in transition is not our strong suit. And I think I'm not sure if Hansi Flick can adapt his mentality maybe to fit his personnel. But I do think that when it comes to the candidates that we have right now, like, look, full disclosure, my top candidates would be Jurgen Klopp. He's not coming. He's going to leave football for a little bit. And obviously, number one is Pep. But Pep is not going to leave the team with the deepest pockets in Europe to come to Barcelona. And he's already been there, done that. He did everything he had to do. He's on to Man City. He's doing great things over there. So for me, out of the guys that we have left, again, Hansi Flick is on. It's not like I'm drooling over Hansi Flick, but of the managers that we have right now, like the ones that we have on the title on the screen, my guy would be Hansi Flick. I'm not sure about you, but I think, again, what he did at Germany, terrible. At Bayern Munich, he comes in mid-season, they win the treble, one of the best teams of all time. The next season wasn't great, but still, I think he's he's the best that we have available right now.
What I would agree with you is that you could say Hansi Flick is the best candidate at the moment. But for me, it's just no matter who we appoint out of these three, because I will tell you right now, it's going to be one of these three. I think it will be 100% a German, because for me, I have so I would consider De Zerbi ruled out mainly because of his release clause.
Yeah.
With Hansi Flick and Tuchel, they're both kind of the same level for me. They both have the same amount of pros and cons. So if we appoint either of them, I'll be content. I don't think there's any manager that we would appoint that would get me excited. Like, even when Xavi was appointed in November, I was, gassed. I'm like, oh, Xavi's coming in. He knows the club. We're going to be back. Even when Koeman, I'm like, oh, he's a hardcore man. Philosophy is strong. But I was excited for that. Excited for Setien. I'm thinking, bloody hell, we're going to play some good football. With Valverde, oh, he knows the league. there's no manager we can appoint that would get me excited. I'm gonna be like, you know what, this is what they chose. It is what it is. Let's hope they can, you know, perform. That's my mindset. So all these three for me are on the same level. I think out of the German coaches, that's who I would prefer as well. That's also what Laporta wants as well. If he wants to go through that German school philosophy, that's fine with me. But again, with Tuchel and Hansi, it's like apples and oranges. You can just pick one for me, and that, whatever. Hansi Flick, yes, his philosophy is good, but he did shite at the World Cup. He hasn't been in the manager game for a year. Tuchel, right. He has experience. He's been consistent. Yeah, his team Bayern Munich now hasn't been that great. Track with Chelsea and PSG's up and down as well. So it's all the same level, in my opinion. So that's how I feel. But I will ask you this: someone in the chat just mentioned it about Xavi wins the Champions League or La Liga. Xavi's not going to say no matter what. You cannot go out there and say, I'm going to leave at the end of the season, win something, and be like, psych,
I'm back. Right.
It's not that. And he was you know what pisses me off? Ever since Xavi resigned, each press conference, again, he does two, right? One before a game, one after. 20 of them. Every one. Oh, how do you feel about leaving? Do you regret it and all this stuff? Are you going to change your mind? I think it would be more sick, more iconic, more ballsy for Xavi to announce he's leaving, win one or both of the Champions League, La Liga, which we won't, and then leave on a high. I'd rather him do that than win and be like, I lied, I'm going to stay. So that's my mindset. But you were saying that realistic choices, you would go for Hansi Flick. That'd be your main choice.
I would 100% go with Hansi Flick. Now, people in the chat, I don't want to hijack your thing, but people in the chat are saying Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
Nagelsmann. I'm not sure how you feel about Julian Nagelsmann. I think he's a really good manager. I
would take him over.
I would take him, honestly.
But the issue is he's not going to come into the job until end of July. That's the problem.
Right, because he's coaching Germany at the Euros, right?
Not only he's coaching Germany at the Euros, he's coaching Germany at the Euros, which is taking place in Germany. So there is no way he can leave. He will get killed by the German media.
Right.
If he was available like right now, I would say sign him now. But Ben Xavi, get him in now. Let him, work for a few months and, push on to next season.
Right.
But with Nagelsmann, you're not going to give him until end of July. And we need a new manager in, for me, by June the 1st. If we do not have a manager by June the 1st, that is I would sack everyone. Laporta, Deco, Enric Masip, Boya, and whoever. You have to have someone in by June the 1st so everyone knows who the manager is. He can get his targets in, set his, plans for preseasons, and get everything in motion. I think the manager, I'll tell you this, I think the manager will be selected probably around May. Like in the sense that, Barcelona have chosen Hansi Flick, full agreement reached, blah, 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 blah.
Kind of like what happened with Valverde. We knew when Valverde was going to be the next guy after.
Exactly. So we're going to reach that point. So that's why it cannot be Nagelsmann. I think if he was an option, he'd be I'll take out the Zerbi from this picture and put Nagelsmann, if I'm being honest.
100%. And look, for me, I think Nagelsmann is, like I said, a very good manager, but I think I think this team needs a change in, not to sound corny, but really a change in mentality. A lot of these players, and again, I'm not putting everything on Xavi, but I feel like the team became too complacent. And it's weird because it's not really a core that has won many big trophies. I mean, we won the league, we won the Super Cup last year, but this is not a team that's made a deep UCL run. We've been knocked out of we've been in the Europa League the past 2 years, getting knocked out of the UCL.
You could do it now, you never know.
Right, maybe hopefully this year. Like I'm praying, bro. But
I've seen worse teams than this team win the Champions League.
100%. I've seen if Spurs can make a UCL final, you better believe that Barcelona can.
Don't bring that up, man. That was our Champions League.
That was our Champions League. But anyway, for me, when I see our team, I think we need to change the mentality. I think a guy like one of these German guys, they can come in and kind of have some, they have some pellets under their, they carry some weight because they've been there and done that. You know what I mean? If you have a guy like Thomas Tuchel come in or Hansi Flick, who are guys who can say, I've won a UCL. Here's my medal. I've won a UCL. I've done that. That carries a difference, like a certain different level of weight.
Don't you think that Hansi Flick's UCL has a bit of an asterisk beside it because it was won in COVID and they only won it because they were the most fit and physical team? So to say,
yes, but I'll ask you this: do you think any team was going to beat that 1920 Bayern team that year? Like, is there what team? Maybe Man City or Liverpool. Liverpool got knocked out by Atletico that year, actually. So Liverpool
they got knocked out before
right.
COVID.
It was like the day before the world shut down. I remember that game like it was yesterday at Anfield, where Morata scored. Well, not Morata, but Llorente scored that goal, that banger from outside of the box. He curled it in.
Andre and Ned had a stinker, yeah.
But to me, I think Bayern Munich, yes, it kind of does have an asterisk. But
again, if you look at what Hansi Flick did after, when everyone came back from COVID, that's when he started to struggle. He barely won the Super Cup and completed the sextuple. And after that, he got
knocked out by Villarreal, right?
Yes, in the
at home.
quarterfinals, it was
Yeah, they got
Gerard
knocked
Moreno masterclass.
yeah, they got knocked out by Villarreal, which was embarrassing.
Yeah,
But then that
at
Villarreal team,
home at the Allianz Arena too.
at the Allianz Arena. So I don't know. For me, like I said, I think that Barca need to go with someone with experience. I'm not sure about you, but I don't want like not to like again. I just want to throw this in there, but I want to get your thoughts as well. I don't want to see Thiago Motta, Rafa Marquez anywhere near this team. I know Thiago Motta is doing a decent job in Serie A. It's just it's a no for me. It's really a no for me.
Just to add to your point, what I really want just for this managerial appointment is for the manager not to have any links with Barcelona whatsoever. Because you look at our last manager, Xavi, former player, Koeman, former player, Valverde played for Barcelona, Enrique played for Barcelona. Setien was kind of the rogue one because we were just desperate.
And he was the worst one, arguably.
Yeah. Tito Villanova was the assistant of Xavi. That's how he got the job. Pep Guardiola, former Barcelona player. Frank Rijkaard, former Barcelona player. I think
Tata Martino only got the job because he was Messi's friend. Tata Martino got the job because of Messi. And
I think Van Gaal played for Barcelona when he was in his playing days. Like,
yes, he did.
So for me, I don't mind us having that link. I think it's, kind of not cool, but like kind of, respectful to, give someone that advantage. But just for this one, again, I'm highlighting the fact that we need experience. We need someone who knows the in and out, knows how to win, and to bring this team to the next level mentally. Then you can bring in that Thiago Motta or Rafa Marquez or Xabi Alonso, or bring back even Xavi Hernandez when that team is fully mentally ready. Because they're used to losing. Let's be honest. Poor Araujo can't even get past into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. He, loses big games week in, week out. I mean, I've seen even poor Frankie, man. He's in the worst years in this club's history. These players, besides winning the Liga last season, haven't won anything. Our core players have won one La Liga. That's it.
And let me ask you, how do you feel about Marcelo Gallardo, who used to coach at River? Now, I watch a lot of South American football.
I wanted him back when we got Setien.
Yeah,
but
I think
even now, if he was available, I'd say he's a strong contender too, because he's the.
I don't know why he's not getting it. I don't know why he's not in the talks. I really like Gallardo. I think
he's at Etihad. He just signed with them.
Yeah, he signed with them.
And he kind of falls into that De Zerbi category where, he's a good manager. He did it, of course, in the Copa Libertadores, and CONMEBOL is a big league, but Europe is a different pedigree.
It's a different break. Yeah,
it's gonna be that question mark. But I really, really wanted him after we during the time when we were bouncing between Setien and Koeman. That's when I was really, really pushing for him. He was a strong contender as well. I think I would definitely consider him now if he was available, but I still put him on more side of the De Zerbi, where we just need someone with a bit more experience right now. You can maybe bring in Gallardo after this coach, whether it's Hansi Flick, Tuchel, Nagelsmann, whatever. But I think right now for Gallardo, it's a bit of a risky one.
How high is your confidence in the board though, in Deco and Joan Laporta? How high, from 1 to 10? Do you trust their judgment in bringing in this manager?
With Deco, I had to put it at 5 because he's not done anything. With Laporta, it's 10 because Laporta has made one mistake since he came back in 2021, and that was give Alonso a new deal. That's the only thing he did wrong. He signed Alonso because Xavi was on his fucking knees begging for him for some sort of reason. Anything else he's done nothing wrong. If you can list me something that he's done wrong, I'll hear it. But since he's come in, he's made every decision correct. Economic levers, making the big signings 2 summers ago, bringing in quality last summer while only spending a total of 3.4 million. Spreading out installments for the Victor Roque operation. Getting the Espai Barca project underway. And it's now we're going to be in a new stadium in 2026. We're now somewhat healthier. His relationship with agents is helping us, sign players. He's done nothing wrong, but approved that Alonso renewal, which you gave him 150K a week. He's been injured this whole entire season, and also he's fucking shit as well. So
he's terrible, especially when you compare him to that other fucking guy that was before him, which is it's night and day how much better of a president he is, and the way that he's brought.
What would you rate him though out of 10?
I think Laporta's a 10, and I think even back in the day when he was even in his first term as president, this guy was a guy who kind of helped bring Barca back to relevancy, made those big signings, brought in Eto'o, brought in Ronaldinho, brought in Rijkaard as well, and he kind of helped bring Barca back to what it's supposed to be. I think Joan Laporta is one of the most influential and most one of the biggest figures in the history of the club. I really do believe that.
The joke about the Mount Everest thing, like Mount Rushmore, whatever it is, like the top 4 in the history of Barcelona, he's definitely there.
Oh, I think for me it would be Messi, Cruyff, Pep, and probably Joan Laporta.
I couldn't agree more. I think those are my 4 as well.
The 4 most influential people in the history of the club. And for me, I think also one thing that maybe I can get your take on is I think these managers have to know your backing financially is not going to be great. Like you have to know you're going to have to work with this on a budget. And that's one thing about that. It's like it's weird because it's like a guy like Michel or Aguasil, they kind of know how to work within the margins because they don't manage a big club, but at the same time they don't have that experience. But guys like Tuchel and Flick, they might expect to be like, oh, I want to bring in this guy. Oh, he costs 100 million. Like, we're not Chelsea. We're not gonna give you, like, who the fuck signs Caicedo for 115 million,
I
bro?
might give you 100 million budget, not 100 million on one player.
Right. No one's paying for that. So when I don't know about you, but I think those guys have to be comfortable with that. And I don't want to see anything in the press about, because Xavi, that's one thing that he's been decent at. He doesn't really complain about, he knows about the financial situation of the club. He's not talking about like, oh, when they didn't back me. He kind of just like he's angry about the fact that the club, the way that they treat him in the media. But these guys have to know that when you come in, you're not getting this, like, you're not at Bayern Munich or Man City. You got to work with the budget.
Laporte is not stupid. He was hit down a bit. Look, this is going to be your transfer budget for this summer. If you're coming with it, you can sign the job. I think honestly, they would, if we told Tuchel or Hansi Flick, you have no money this summer, you got to work with what you got, I still think they'd be down to be the job, because Barcelona is Barcelona. The pull is just immaculate, and that's the only thing I want to add as well. The manager has to come in with pull, because Xavi is the one who signed Koundé, Lewandowski, and all this stuff. You bring in a De Zerbi, and he calls up. What's a good example?
Kimmich.
Like Kimmich. Yo, right. Kimmich, you want to reach? You'd be like, who the hell are you? I'm going to go to Pep with Man City. I'm going to go wherever the case may be. So you got to have that pull factor as well. So I think Tuchel has that. I think Hansi Flick has that a little bit, only because he won the treble or sextuple with Bayern Munich, and his pedigree is there. De Zerbi doesn't have that pull. Neither does Michel or Alguacil or whatever the case may be. So that pull is also a very, very important factor as well. But just to end off, I do want to talk about Deco, because you did ask me about him. I think with Deco, he's just come in. He's been in the job since September. Everything in the summer was all Mateo Alemán. So signing the two Joaos, Romeu, Gundogan. Deco did help with the Victor Roque deal. But Deco's coming now. He's missed out on Echeverri because we weren't going to spend 20 million on a youngster. He missed out on Lucas Berrival because we're not going to spend over 10 million for a youngster. That's all he's done. I mean, people are telling me, oh, he's losing out on these young talents. Look at the young talents that we're pumping out right now. I've never in my life I thought I would see Barcelona produce a top striker, and we got Marc Guehi coming in now. So we don't if we see a youngster that we like and the price is right, fair enough. But we're not going to go spend over the top on players like Lucas Berrival when Tottenham have absolutely zero academy whatsoever. I can't even tell you a player that's been produced from the Tottenham academy. So that's why they're paying over the odds for these youngsters. So with Deco, I think his true evaluation will come in the summer. See how he does, who he signs, who he sells, what the margin is, so to speak. That's my take on Deco. I don't know if you want to add anything before we end off today.
No, I think that Deco has come in and he's kind of he hasn't, like, I agree with everything you said. I don't want Barca spending that much money on an unproven youngster. Like, I don't know about you, but I wanted Barca to sign, maybe look at Valentin Barco, Colo Barco from Boca Juniors.
Yeah, who went to Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he kind of gives me those McAllister vibes. And I thought he would have been a good signing, but it's what you said. For Barcelona, you know what the pool for Barcelona is? Because I hate people that say, oh, who would want the Barca job? It's Barcelona, and you have some of the most talented young players in the world. Like Araujo, Koundé, Lamine Yamal, all these guys that's pool. But also, you have the best academy in world football right there in your backyard. And La Masia just plucks talent. Like Pau Cubarsí, every time I watch this kid play, I'm in awe of the way that he plays. Every time I see
the past few years as well, you had Ricky Puig, who broke into the team. Everyone's thinking he's magical. Ilaix Moriba looked at the next Pogba before he, begged us for 3 million. We've pumped out youngsters for so many times. Even, Mingueza, he was compared to, the next Sergio Ramos and all this stuff. And it always happens.
So for me, when I see Barca's academy and the talent they have, also what's his name? Kluivert's son, who's in the academy right now, who looks like a really promising player. Justin Kluivert, who looks amazing. I mean,
oh wait, you mean Ronaldinho's son?
No, Kluivert.
Kluivert's son is playing with Bournemouth. That's Justin Kluivert.
Oh no, it was the other guy. The one that fucking, what's his name? I don't know. I'm blanking, but I know. Yeah, Kluivert went to Bournemouth. But what the fuck is this guy's name? I made a video about him. I don't know. I'll figure it out and I'll put it in the chat. But I think that when you see the academy that we have and you see guys like Lamine Yamal and all these different players, I don't think Deco could have done much else. I mean, who are you going to bring in the summer to fix this? I wanted a DM in the summer. Who are you going to bring in? Who can you really bring in? We're all
sucking Romeo's cock in the summer as well, by the way. The preseason Romeo was unbelievable. We're thinking we'd find somewhat of a Busquets stopgap for like a year or two. And then come September, he's thinking, oh, I'm actually playing for Barcelona. He just does his legs and he becomes shit.
Bro, his first month, I was like, this guy's amazing. I made a TikTok about guys who their impact at Barcelona is small, but their impact at Barcelona is big, but the time of the club is small. And I put in Romeo. I put Romeo in that thing, bro. I was like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. Yeah. He's the second coming of Busquets. But then you realize that Romeo is a guy who isn't really cut out to play in this league. He's just not good enough right now. So I was talking about Wilfred Ndidi at Leicester, who obviously Leicester in the second division right now, they got sent down, and
Yeah.
Just someone to bring in. Really, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I watched Leicester City week in and week out because I haven't seen a single game that they played this year. But I know Ndidi, and I know that he's decent and he's very physical. So I was like, just bring someone in. Someone, because we can't keep playing Gundogan as a DM because he's not a DM. We can't keep playing Frankie de Jong in that position. And even Christensen, I like the way that he's kind of adapting as a DM, but you see him in possession. He's just
like
not
half a DM, just off the ball.
He's not comfortable. He's just not comfortable in possession. And I remember that first half of that game against Getafe. He barely touched the ball in that first half. He was basically playing like an extra defender. I think Xavi
told them in possession, do not give the ball to Christensen because I think he had like 10 passes in that first half.
Yeah, and you have Frankie de Jong dropping so deep, and he has to carry the ball like 30 yards, and the poor guy can't do it all. So for me, I think that, like you said, with Deco, I don't think many things that he did were wrong, but I think this summer is going to be a big litmus test for Deco and for Joan Laporta. Not really Joan because we know how good he is, but for the guys, for the board at Barcelona. And how serious are they about getting back to the club that we can really be? Are we going to be the new AC Milan who become irrelevant for 10 years after being a big boy? Or are we going to be, we're going to go through like kind of like that period that Real Madrid went through after they let Ronaldo go? You have like 2 years where you're not doing great, and then you come back and you recover. Now, we don't have a Benzema, but we do have the talent to come back and push through. And dude, like, it's been 8 years, man. Like, We've watched 8 years of suffering in the UCL.
No, don't bring that up, man. The 10-year anniversary of the trebles is coming up to next year. I can't think about that.
All we want to see is our team come back and get at least make a run. And I think this year, if we make a semifinal, I'd be happy. I think that could be a good stepping stone for the future and whatever guy comes in.
I agree as well. So we'll see how things turn out. I think we're pretty much on the same page in regards to the manager, everything like that. Someone's asked in the chat, would you trust Inaki Peña as the main goalkeeper? Absolutely not. So we're gonna end it off on that note. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you did, make sure you drop a like. Of course, subscribe down below. Check out Michi's channel down below as well. It's linked in the title. Drop him a subscription there. He does some TikToks as well if you want to follow that. And we will see you guys next time on the channel, of course. Always back the club. Take care and Forza Barca.